So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the nature and extent of support available to those starting or growing their own business in Scotland. And that support falls largely into four main categories. We're going to look at business advice, networking opportunities, funding, and lastly we're going to look briefly at incubation. Now in Scotland, the environment in which providers of business support operate is often referred to as the enterprise network, and this is basically simply a diverse mix of private, public and third sector stakeholders with some interest in encouraging business startup and growth. So if we look first at the area of business advice, then broadly speaking there are three main types of advisor within the enterprise network which the SME has access to. First, we have the expert consultant who focuses on solving specific problems and providing appropriate solutions based on their experience. An example of that could be a traditional lawyer or an accountant. Next, we have the hands-on advisor who's usually more specialised and adopts a consultancy approach whilst working within the business for a set and usually a fairly short period of time. An example of this would be a private sector IT consultant. And lastly, we have the facilitator or counsellor who is largely concerned with developing the client themselves and by extension the business as a whole. And they do this by teaching core business skills whilst encouraging and supporting entrepreneurial behaviour. And an example of this would be a business gateway startup advisor. So now let's look briefly at a few of the key players in the network and what they do. Firstly, we have to think about Business Gateway. Now, Business Gateway is the lead enterprise agency within Scotland, and this is a publicly funded service which contributes to the economic well-being of Scotland by providing access to free business support services. Each gateway operates on a regional basis and provides a range of support, including finance raising. However, it's important to understand that Business Gateway does not directly fund businesses itself, but rather helps the client to access funding from other parties, such as a local authority within their region. The Prince's Trust supports young people within the 18 to 30 age group to start up and grow in business. They provide essential funding in the form of low-interest loans up to a maximum of £7,000, and also some discretionary grants, and they provide mentoring support to all their clients, so they're a key player in the enterprise network. The Scottish Institute for Enterprise, or SIE, works nationally to promote and support enterprise and entrepreneurship in Scotland's higher education sector. And anyone starting a business whilst within a higher education is likely to encounter SIE at some point. They're not a funder themselves, but they can help to access funding. Young Enterprise Scotland offers a variety of training programmes and development opportunities to young people across Scotland. They do have limited funds that can help you access more, and they're particularly active within the college sector. So clearly there's a lot of support available to the SME. However, research suggests that new and emerging firms are often unaware of the range of assistance that exists. They're often reluctant to ask for help and advice and can be sceptical of the benefits of such assistance. Networking is extremely important in the context of business, and there are three forms of network which the SME can access. Open networks have no barriers to entry. Closed networks only allow certain types or numbers of members. And lastly, online networks operate in an online capacity rather than a face-to-face basis. So these are the three main types of network, and we're going to look at a few specific examples. The first of these is the FSB, or Federation of Small Businesses. They are the UK's largest campaigning pressure group, and they promote and protect the interests of the self-employed and owners of small firms. They've been around since 1974, and they now have around 200,000 members across 33 regions, and they protect the interests of their members and they charge a fee for doing so. They're an open network. Another open network that's very popular is the Chamber of Commerce. This is a nationwide network of over 50 accredited chambers of commerce, servicing tens of thousands of business members across the UK. Again, it's an open network, and members pay a fee to enjoy the benefits. Lastly, an example of a closed network is the BNI, which has over 170,000 members, and Business Network International is the largest business networking organisation in the world, and it offers its members the opportunity to share ideas, contacts and generate business referrals, but it only allows one type of each type of business, so it's a closed network. In all cases, however, it's really about providing opportunities to do business with like-minded people, so it's something to consider. Now we're going to look at access to funding, which is critical to an SME at every stage of the business's development. And while there are a number of potential sources of funding within the network, there's no automatic entitlement to funding, and every funder is looking to ensure that a number of requirements can be met. First of these is the type of business project. The potential funder wants to make sure that the project or the business meets their eligibility criteria. They also need to ensure that the client can repay, so they'll look at their financial obligations, including any existing borrowing. And lastly, they'll look at the character of the applicant. Do they demonstrate a mix of positive attributes such as flexibility and their ability to take advice, trustworthiness, integrity, and a strong work ethic? The funding itself that's available falls into two categories: grants, which do not have to be repaid, and loans, which do need to be repaid. So lastly, we're going to talk briefly about incubation. An incubator is a dedicated premises provided to help firms become established and profitable. It's a service that helps to incubate or grow tenant firms. Incubators often represent a mix of public and private support, and there are three main types of incubator within the enterprise network. Embedded incubators are located within larger institutions, for example universities. Independent incubators cater only for their own specific firms. And lastly, there are specific purpose incubators which support only specific types of firms, such as technology companies. The benefits of incubation generally include things like access to convenient and reasonably priced tenancies, in-house business support, business advisory service of a specific nature, and opportunities to network and collaborate with other like-minded people. And a good example of effective incubation is eSpark, or Entrepreneurial Spark, which is the world's largest free business accelerator for early stage and growing ventures. eSpark provides a range of services for tenant firms, including access to funding designed to encourage growth.